Like so many of you out there, one of the main reasons I started hunting and continue to hunt until this day is for meat. So this HuntStand Original Film is very special to me, and you're about to see why. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch. Remember to hit that subscribe button on the HuntStand YouTube channel. Hit that like button if you enjoy this film. And by all means, if you have a comment, please share it below. Thanks for watching. The way that I grew up hunting, everything was really all about meat at the end of the day. It was really never about antlers. It wasn't about numbers, anything like that. It was just the way that I was raised, and that's what I've carried with me throughout my entire hunting lifestyle, my career. A lot of the stories I've told, it's a recurring element that you're gonna always see because it's so important to me. When I sit down with somebody for the first time who's never broken down a big game animal before, it kind of re-energizes me because you can see that light bulb turn on when you're working with that person. And it's super exciting to see that because you know that you just introduced somebody to a whole new level of the hunting process.
So I feel like you can always be improving, with hunting. You can be learning more, but now I realize that there's this whole new door open to me, not just the hunt itself, but then afterwards, the preparation and aging and just everything when it comes to harvesting your animal. There's always things to learn and things to improve.
Wisconsin has a special late season, what they call a holiday hunt. It's an antlerless deer hunt. The goal with the antlerless hunt is to reduce the doe population because in certain parts of the state, there's just too many deer. I knew that Maggie had been hunting for a long time and she's got a pretty good amount of experience, but I was kind of realized that she's never gone super far into the butchering side and the processing side and whatnot. So for this season, it was cool to link up with her and just try to put this together as a meat hunt where we could go through the entire process from start to finish. So it's supposed to get like 6 inches by 9 p.m. So
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, legit. Like this is a legitimate blizzard. It's pretty perfect for a holiday hunt to be out here in the snow like this.
I've killed one deer this year. Not a very successful season for me, but I'm just saying, for all of the time spent, it's disappointing to only have one doe to show for it, so let's make it 2. When Josh called me and wanted to get on the holiday hunt, which I've also never participated in, I was really excited. I thought it was a cool experience to get out in the woods later in the year, snow, colder weather. The whole thing was a new experience for me. I was excited when I got that call.
We decided to use the Savage Ultralight. We knew we were going to be hunting in a blind in tight quarters. It's lightweight, it's pretty compact, it's easy to get around in that blind. So for that scenario, even though you think of an ultralight rifle as more of a mountain hunting setup, it actually works really well for hunting out of a ground blind for whitetails. My buddy Alex and I put out this bail blind at the very beginning, actually before deer season. In August we put it out with the intentions of hopefully shooting a buck out of it early season. And we just didn't have a lot of good daytime traffic here, but we also put it out with the intention of using it for a late season hunt, knowing that it would be an awesome rifle blind because we can shoot this huge field right here. We're sitting right along this grass waterway that's a natural travel corridor between 2 bedding areas, and the deer just tend to gravitate around this. So you look at this big natural field out here, and it's like, where are the deer gonna be? It's a huge field, it's difficult to decide where to set up. Well, anytime that you don't have a good plan or idea of where the deer might be, always just focus on any form of natural subtlety in the terrain. And in this case, it's that grass waterway that you can see clearly on the map that goes across the field. It's like a natural funnel. Even though there's not much here other than just a slight depression and some grass, the deer tend to use it more than just traveling across the open. So it's something that they relate to. It's something you can look out for if you're hunting big fields. It's always such a consistent food source for late season deer activity that usually we get a bunch of deer yarded up down here, and that's exactly what we're hoping for this evening. The activity was real slow, and it took until the final hour of daylight for any deer to start moving. Even though it was cold and you'd think that they'd be focused on getting food sources a little earlier in the day, that last little window of light was really when we saw the only movement. And because of that, we came down to the wire and we were not able to shoot a deer that first night like I had planned.
Tagged a doe. Nice, perfect eating doe.
I love that winter
on a snowy day. Yeah, it was cool. They were all kind of running around, like like doe fighting. Like they jump up on their hind legs and like box each other and stuff. It's pretty cool.
It's so easy.
Maggie?
I mean, I'm not gonna turn one down if you're offering. Thank you very much. My favorite flavor. I can't believe I haven't yet.
You know, good broadside 100-yard shot. She ran, I don't know, 70 yards, and we picked her up to the truck, and here we are.
Now, what's cool about this hunt is it's really an opportunity for people to get together between Christmas and New Year's. And what else would you be doing at this time of year, especially if you got some days off during the week like we do? So it's cool to kind of get out. It's like one more opportunity to do a community-style deer hunt. Everybody just helps each other cut meat. Alex helped me break down my buck earlier this year, so now I'm helping him repay the favor here with this doe. There's just too many deer. And so Wisconsin has done a great job of identifying the areas where some extra deer can be taken later in the season, and that's the nature of the holiday hunt. It's a brand new machine. It was about minus 15 last night. It's 3 degrees right now. This thing's just been sitting out here. I can tell you 6 years in running these, I've never not had one start under any conditions.
So never hunting this late in the season before, seeing the deer's patterns and the way that they were just basically out there trying to survive this time of year was really interesting. Josh was really laying out for me and describing to me why we were doing everything that we were doing. Usually when I'm hunting, it's, you know, maybe rut where they're a little more on edge or just have other things to worry about. So it was definitely, you could tell that they just have a different purpose this time of year.
This is the circle of death, this spot right here. We could get 360 deer coming from around us. So we got to keep our eyes peeled. And with how cold it is today, I really think they could be moving earlier than they did yesterday. Yesterday was some weird weather. I think they were just hunkering down. But I wouldn't be surprised if by 2 o'clock we have some deer starting to move out in the field.
So I spent a lot of my time in the woods this year bow hunting, out of tree stands in the woods. So it's really cool to be in the middle of a field with just such a far range of view, just watching the wood lines, waiting for deer to come out.
Rack. First shot she made, I was 95% sure that it was a lethal shot, that deer was just gonna go fall over. But my policy, just as a security measure, is shoot until the animal falls. It's not often that you even get follow-up shots, so when you do get them, take them.
Yeah, she made us work for it, that's for sure. She would give us just a split-second broadside and then turn right back around.
We still got shooting light, and I've got 2 tags in my pocket, so we're gonna sit here for a little while longer and see if I get another chance. No doubt. I love that thick winter coat. So nice. We're gonna go grab the RMAX, toss her in there, get her up to the workshop, and start doing the breakdown. Maggie's gonna do the whole thing herself, the first time ever.
So I've been around people cleaning deer and butchering deer my whole life, but especially my dad, and he's always been like, I want you to know how to do this, but as long as I'm around, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it yourself.
The biggest thing with skinning a deer, whether you're gonna hang it up or you're gonna do it the gutless way like this, where we're just gonna leave the guts in there, as you're skinning that deer, you wanna try to not get hair on the meat, because ultimately if you end up with a piece of hair or a clump of hair on your meat when you're gonna cook it later, burnt hair, cooked hair just doesn't taste good. It's that simple.
We just pulled it out from its heart.
That's some terminal ascent right there. Just the perfect bullet mushroom that you want to see. The cool part about working on a deer with somebody is everything is double. So you've got 2 front legs and 2 back legs, and you've got 2 back straps, and you've got 2 inner loins. Everything is a mirror image of itself. So when you go to teach somebody how to break down a deer, Whether it's that initial process of just quartering the deer, or all the way into the kitchen when you're gonna break down the bigger cuts or the hindquarters into steaks and roasts. So you can work on one side while that person is working alongside you, and they can do the second side, because the only way somebody is going to learn is by doing it. I can't stress that enough.
Meat on the deer. The blade roast is where it's at. Way underestimated.
Geesh, my first deer leg. Basically all by myself with a little supervision.
So it's been about a week or two since the holiday hunt, and we decided to just let the meat age for a little while, kept it in a cooler. There's a lot of different ways you can age meat. You can wet age meat, you can hang it, you can dry age meat. There's so many different ways. If you have a way that you like to age meat, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. But what I like to usually do is just throw the meat in a cooler and let it sit there. If you can get it in the right temperature, and we're lucky because it's cold out right now, let it sit there for a couple weeks and it works magic. Now we're here, we're ready to finish the butchering process. And what I've got right here, what we're gonna start with, because we're gonna eat some later, is the front leg. And a lot of people waste their time by trying to break down the front leg. There's no reason to take a knife to a front shoulder and try to break it down for ground. Best way you can do it is slow cook the entire front leg, and it creates this like tender, silky, moist meat that you can use for 100 different things, including tacos, which is what we're gonna have a little bit later.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't realize how much meat there is to utilize there and would just cut it off, right? They just do the shoulder.
Yeah, a lot of people just throw the shank away, and it's because if you're in the mindset of just grinding it,
yeah,
they're really, it's a pain, because you're gonna have to cut all this, and then you're gonna see the tendons in there, and it's stupid. So if you do it the slow cooking way, there's actually a ton of meat on the shank, and that's why I like to keep it, because it's just all meat. What you want to do to brown the meat is you want to get a pan heated up with some oil. Ideally, you're going to want to use oil that has like a high flash point or smoke point, and all that means is that you're going to be able to get the oil hot without it burning and starting to smoke and set your fire alarms off in your house. So the key about using beer, if you want to use like a lighter beer, you do not want to use a beer that has a bunch of hops in it. It will make the meat taste disgusting. So just stick to like lagers or pilsners, or you can use like stouts, dark beers, hops plus meat. Just the bitter flavor does not go well. So I like Mexican beers generally, or you can just use light beers. You can use Busch Light, stuff like that. You're maybe gonna want to submerge it like halfway, so the top will be exposed, and you can just picture it's gonna be going like this. And believe it or not, I'm actually not going to cover it. It just seems to work better if you leave it open. Gonna put it in the oven about 300 degrees, run it for about 3 hours, and then by the end, all you're gonna be left with is meat and bones.
So my knowledge of, say, cuts or processing a deer has kind of always been, you want it ground, you want steaks, you want the roast. Josh explaining to me, or just even thinking about, you know, slow cooking the front shoulder and turning it into this and that, like all the different recipes you can make once you do that, that was eye-opening to me. You know, I just never even realized the vast options that you have.
And every time I hear a phrase my mother used to say to me,
everybody hunts for different reasons, and at the end of the day, there's one common denominator for everybody, and that's we end up going home with meat. And taking it to a butcher, there's nothing wrong with that, but I would like to argue that the moment you go through the processing yourself and you become enlightened to not just the process, but all the different cool things you can do with that meat, depending on how you want to butcher it, I think you're going to realize that you're going to get way, way more value out of the entire hunting process.
I get to leave.
Josh?
That is good stuff.
Legit. Just low and slow, give it some time, and you will be happy with the results. Well, you don't really need much for Really good tacos, you just need fresh ingredients. Got some avocado ground up, mixed with a little garlic powder and salt. Hand cut salsa, fresh grated cheese. Doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Once you have good meat, good shells, it's good.
I took so many notes watching Josh cook all of this, so I can't wait to take my meat back to Wisconsin. First of all, I'm gonna try to mimic this, and then this just opens the door to so many possibilities. I'm excited.
Home, home, home. I need a little taste of home.